Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakaha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like those heathen. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you, I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And just gonna talk about a few things here today. This is Revelation 12:12, and it reads, "Rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time." And that will be, Esau, Edom here. Their time is nearly up, and they have lost control of the narrative, which they want to by force take back the control of the narrative and demonize and ostracize people from society that speak truth. All right, there's a video that I was watching with Elder Manata Zakba. All right, and it was called UN declares people with non-mainstream views must be ostracized, and that would mainly be the men of the Lord, primarily the men of the Great Millstone. All right, because the other three of the big four, as Vocab, his constituents, has labeled us, the other three are paid opposition. Those merchandising 501c3 camps that sell garments and clothes and headbands and breakdowns and prayers and I said well over 10 years ago that these people who are making merchandise of the house of the Lord, that these people aren't sincere. They're in this thing for money. And that should be beyond evident to anyone at this point. I can't understand why anyone would continue to follow, with all the blasphemous things that have been said and done by the Sakari, by the IUIC, by ISUPK. But then again, it has to be, someone has to be, those people has to fill those shoes of being the deceived. All right, those who are going to actually be in the game, but not finish the game, so to speak. All right, but these people just desperately want to control the narrative, but they've been exposed. Like with this one here, Scott Ritter, he says Israel doom has sounded as Hezbollah rain missiles on IDF, and that's just to show you that that Israel is finished, but their doom wasn't sounded from Hezbollah missiles. The doom was sounded from the men of the Lord. The men of the Lord have told you that the least of the flock would draw them out. The least of the flock is the Amalekites, the Amalek portion of the nation of Edom, and that is exactly who the Israelis are. They're the Amalekites. All right, this is Jeremiah 49:10. And it reads, "But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself, for his seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let their widows trust in me. For thus saith Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink the cup have surely drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it." So, the evidence in the history is out of who controlled the slave trade, that what people were involved in it. It's, that took the Israelites into slavery and Amalek had a big role in that. though they try to, get angry, when you bring out that history. And as far as covering up and hiding history, I have a great example here. Okay, this was a soundbite from what's his name, the comedian guy. I forget his name, the Nigerian dude, the swole dude. I think he's from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. But he goes into the story about how the hockey was invented by so-called black people. All pretty much just as everything else. There's so many other things as far as inventions and technology and things of that nature. But without any further ado, let's play this.
Was the only thing black in hockey. But guess what I got for you? Show us Colored Hockey League, please. We need to show this.
It says here the Colored Hockey League was hockey's first organized league in 1895.
1895, black African Canadians created hockey. Show the photos, images. There's a book called Black Ice that this white dude wrote.
Yeah.
And it's the history that they hid in Canada. Black history. Black hockey players in the 1800s.
Crazy.
And they never said shit. And it was in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Nova Scotia. Now, Nova Scotia, after the war, they had Africaville. Canadians created in Africaville. They don't have it anymore. They got rid of, they pushed Africans out because, a lot of people come out of Nova Scotia. Now, the first black hockey player that went to the NHL, to the Boston Bruins, was from Nova Scotia. His name was Willie O'Ree.
Okay.
Show Willie O'Ree real quick. Willie O'Ree was the first black player in hockey from Nova Scotia. The same area that black people discovered hockey, created hockey. Now, The Rock's father is from Nova Scotia. Wow. You thought that the puck was the only thing black in hockey.
That's just an example of how they try to hide and cover up history and control the narrative, because some of the most racist events in modern history has been surrounded around hockey, and when so-called black players show up, because this guy and this irritates me that I can't think of his name right now, but because there's no such thing as black people. And or Africa. Africa is named after a so-called white man named Scipio Africanus. All right, and then so-called white people who named themselves that, self-proclaimed, in 1681 in Virginia. They're the ones who decided to put the label black on you. And we've broken down 1,000 times, but we just can't stop. We have to keep telling you that the word black means ugly and nasty and unruly, untrustworthy. Evil, dark. So when you say black people, you could add any of those adjectives, any of those synonyms to it. Ugly people, wicked people, immoral people, untrustworthy. Exactly. That's what you're calling them when you call them black. They decided to put that label upon you. But people are too lazy to look up words. They try to, gloss it over by saying black is beautiful. According to whom? All right, they labeled you that. That's not what you are. Just like they're not white, they're red. All right, but that was just an example to show you that they want to control the narrative, and they can't anymore. And the Lord is using them to destroy themselves. All right, they're bringing an end to themselves. All right, so without any further ado, we're gonna play about 4 or 5 minutes of Scott Ritter's video, and then I'll, come with some more scriptures. But here we go.
Was talking about that they're going to support Netanyahu if they want to.
So here we go.
Biden administration was talking about that they're going to support Netanyahu if they want to attack Hezbollah. Then they said that they're not going to be there helping them. Right now they're talking about that Netanyahu is going to attack Hezbollah in the coming weeks. And what's your understanding on the Biden's policy in Gaza right now, considering what's going on with him in this 2024 presidential election?
Well, Biden's hamstrung.
On the one hand, he
Look up the term hamstrung, or even put in, scenes of movies from people that are hamstrung. If you don't understand that term, look it up.
recognizes that the United States is paying a horrific price for supporting Israel, that we're losing credibility around the world, nations.
Not losing, has lost. The narrative is lost. Just like the world knows that these people in Israel are not the Israelites that are spoken of in the Bible, as they portray themselves to be in all their, controlled Hollywood abominations, all the lies that they put in their movies. All right. The world knows that these are not the people that they're claiming to be. And it's really pathetic that they continue to do so. And yet what they want to do is demonize and criminalize you for pointing out the fact that they are not who they're claiming to be.
Especially at a time, again, to bring in BRICS, when BRICS is challenging the hegemony, American hegemony, with a multilateral model, and challenging the United States in the developing South to say we're the better model. Don't go with the United States. This is critical because the United States is trying to mount a challenge to China in the Pacific, the ASEAN members. When they look at the United States, they're looking at a nation that has no credibility anymore, that's lost, doesn't stand for anything. And increasingly, the BRICS model is looking like the better option. This is devastating for American foreign policy. But on the other hand, the extent to which the pro-Israeli lobby controls politics in America today is manifest. And so Biden can't afford to walk away from Israel or to be seen as opposing Israel. Look at the debate. I mean, basically, Donald Trump said that, I'll enable Israel to kill more Palestinians when I'm president, implying that somehow Biden is holding Israel back from committing genocide. Neither one of those postures is going to do America well on the international stage, but domestically, that's what counts right now. And it's Biden's great vulnerability that he is being perceived by the pro-Israeli lobby and the voters in America that are responsive to that lobby as being soft on terrorism, soft on Hamas, soft on Hezbollah. But Biden knows one thing, or at least his administration knows one thing, that if Israel goes into a full-scale war with Hezbollah, Israel is probably going to be destroyed, that it's the end of Israel. Israel can't survive that fight. Hezbollah has the ability to blanket Israel with accurate long-range missiles from head to toe, from left to right, that Israel can't shoot down. Moreover, if Israel aggressively strikes Lebanon in an effort to knock Hezbollah out of the fight, Iran will join the fight. And
see, so through their activities, Iran joining the fight, Benjamin Milkowski, that's his real name, not Netanyahu, but Milkowski, what he did was he successfully brought all his enemies together against him, the whole Arab world. So Arabs who were not even in this war, they came together in solidarity for their religion, and he really fumbled and put a checkmate on himself. It's just a matter of time. All right, so I want to read Jeremiah 49 in the NLT, and I'm going to start at verse 14. So this is Jeremiah 49 and 14 in the NLT. And it reads, I have heard a message from Yahweh that an ambassador was sent to the nation to say, form a coalition, the nations to say, form a coalition against Edom and prepare for battle. The Lord says to Edom, I will cut you down to size among the nations. You will be despised by all. You have been deceived by the fear you inspire in others, and by your own pride. You live in a rock fortress and control the mountain heights, controlling the narrative, controlling the media, controlling the money. That's all coming to an end. All right. It says, But even if you make your nest among the peaks of the eagles, I will bring you crashing down, says Yahweh. Edom will be an object of horror. All who pass by will be appalled and will gasp at the destruction they see there. So the Lord is getting ready to completely maul and annihilate the nation of Edom out of power. All right. And those that remain of them are going to go into slavery. All right. Because America and Israel are going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth. Thus saith the Bible. Thus saith the Holy Word. They're going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth. But Israel will be built back up. All right. And Esau, Edom is completely exposed. And like you said, they want to control the narrative of history, et cetera, and that is no longer happening. All right. That's another reason why they want to get rid of TikTok. Not because it was a threat to national security. It was a threat to Edomite supremacy, to his lies.
And I want to give you a brief history. I won't go into it too much, but I can't just make that statement because there'll be people that will push back. But I want to give you a brief history on slavery. I was just amazed, I got to tell you. I mean, when you come to America and you talk to people about slavery, you can talk to black people about slavery, white people about slavery, and they'll give you all this history on slavery, and it only goes back to the 16th and the 17th century. And you're like, don't they teach you the history of slavery? Why? Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery as far back as the 16th and the 17th century? Why are they only going that far back? Because they don't want you to go farther back than that, because then you'll actually find out the truth. But from the 16th and 17th century, we'll teach you about slavery. You've got to go further back. And you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery?
Because they can control the narrative. That's why.
Because Islam designed infernal slavery. And then the Ashkenazi Khazars, those who say they are Jews and are not, are the ones that marketed it. And the regal Negro nomads, exiled from the kingdom of Judah, were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans.
So different dark people.
Because you've got to understand the regal class of the.
So what's happening here is that, you know, he's breaking down the fact that the Africans, a different dark race, the Hamites, all right, along with the Arabs, along with Edom, were enslaving the regal tribes of Judah, Benjamin and Levi. That's what he's breaking down. That can be found in the book of Joel. That matches up with biblical prophecy and history, all right, which fulfills the curses that are in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and is also spoken about in Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, about, you know, Judah and Israel going in captivity to get together. And that happened only here in America, not before, because they were in separate captivities before that.
House of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans. And the black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land, because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility. And they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah. This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. So we're gonna.
So you know that video is on and he goes into a lot of details, but you have to understand the slave trade that happened with the Arabs, you know, prior, you know, to the to the so-called to the transatlantic slave trade, and how all those Israelites that fled into Africa, which were resented by the dark Africans, because they had their own customs, their own laws, their own way of life, and they had the law, statutes, and commandments, and they prospered there. All right. And many of them during that time started following Islam, even though they were in captivity under them. But one thing that the people in Islam never tried to hide who they were. They never tried to hide Jacob's heritage from them. All right. Because some of them, because it is evident when you go through our history, because when you go to like Portugal and Spain, where the Moors were ruling, the Moors were the Israelites, basically the ones who had, converted to Islam. And then you had the Moriscos, the Morenos, the secret Jews, and and the Christians, but they knew who they were. In the captivity that happened in the most recent time, they hid they covered up Jake's heritage. And over time they lost it. That would be Jeremiah 17:4. They were cut off from their heritage. It's Jeremiah 17:4, and it reads, and this is in the NLT. The wonderful possession I have reserved for you will slip from your hands, and I will tell your enemies to take you as captives to a foreign land, for my anger blazes like a fire that will burn forever, which merely meant a long time, because the Lord, promised mercy, and he would, bring back the captivity again. All right. So it's not, we're not just doomed to be on the bottom forever. And the fall of Edom right before our eyes, while we're in the midst of their rulership, is evidence of it. But I'm going to let, this video just a little bit more play.
As we dig into this, where this slavery came from, because it was really a system that was very, very well crafted. There was Islamic masters, and there were white Ashkenazi Khazar ship owners. There were the buyers.
The good ship Jesus was owned by Ashkenazi Jew named Aaron Lopez. The Jewish people today. Like Benjamin Milkowski, who's known as, AKA Netanyahu. His forefathers controlled and ruled the slave trade. So how can you be, you can't be the victim, and the villain, and they're the villains. And as I refer to them as victim villains, they really commit these heinous acts all around the earth, or against the Arabs and against other people, and then they turn around through their own media and they play the victim. They have the right to defend themselves, over and over. That push that narrative over and over again, and people see through it and see through that lie. That's why the nations are banding together against them.
And the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a 4-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads that were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. Number two, you had indigenous black African hunters that resented the regal Negro nomads that had come into their territory with their own customs, with their own laws that were different and would not assimilate into their tribal culture. They were their own tribe. They were the regal house of Judah. And number three, you had Islamic trappers that worked with the indigenous black Africans to trap the regal Negro house of Judah.
And that's basically the history that's told in Joel. All right. And also, if you remember the movie Roots, the original one, about the 44th minute, of that movie when Kunta Kinte was captured. They basically that whole scene was scripturally sound with the alliance between Esau, who was the fake Greeks, but labeled as the Greek, because remember they started calling themselves that, the Hamite, all right, Ishmael, hunting, trading, and capturing the regal house of Judah out of the interiors of Western Africa. They showed you that right in the movie, fulfilling showing you that the scriptures is in Joel, the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, if I believe. All right, it's either the 2nd or 3rd chapter, but here we go.
And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi. You see, it's just like Al-Qaeda today. Or is it ISIS? Or is it ISIL? Or is it IS? I mean, right? Let's just change the name as much as possible to throw you all off so you really don't know what's going on.
That's pretty much what they
Let's
do.
keep switching the identity to hide the people. Why don't we just keep renaming you? Are you Negro? Oh, no, you're not Negro. No, you're colored. No, you're not colored.